Hello, my friends, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're going to do things a little differently. For those of you waiting for the pup date, it will be at the end of the video. So if you want to stick around till then, or just skip ahead to there if you're just here for the puppies, that is where they'll be. For today, we're continuing our Miskatonic Mondays, where I play a demo and then give you my thoughts. Today's demo was on Ardenfall. This is an early demo where they haven't yet, obviously, released the game at all. It's still to be announced. And as it says, this is an early access demo for Ardenfall. You may run into bugs, but we're very open to feedback and we'll be fixing issues regularly. Ardenfall is a choice-based RPG set in a world of intricate politics and ancient cultures. Walk in the shoes of a deadly assassin, a grizzled mercenary, a powerful mage, a silver-tongued thief, and anything else your role-playing heart desires. Explore the rain-drenched wetlands and forgotten dungeons full of danger, meeting countless interesting characters with unique dialogue and quests along the way. You may start your adventure as a nobody, but the choices you make and connections you form will propel you into fame or infamy. Meaningful character creation. How you craft your character will have long-term consequences. Choose your character's race, attributes, traits, starting faction, and more. These decisions will unlock dialogue options, alter your strengths and weaknesses, and even define how others trust or distrust your character. Meet countless interesting characters. Interact with a unique range of characters across the world, each with different perspectives, beliefs, and culture. Building trust with the people of Ardenfall unlocks new paths in your journey. You may, however, need to charm, convince, or lie to get what you desire. Explore diverse mechanics. Choose your weapons. Now choose another. If you are stuck, there's always more options to get you out of the bind. A throwing potion, a single-use spell, or a throwing knife of fire may do the trick. A mage specialized in summoning may spawn a great beast to do their bidding, while a thief may toss a potion of silence on their target to ensure a clean kill. Key features: deep character customization, choose your gender, race, traits, stats, starting items, and more. Explore an open world full of challenging dungeons and vast forests to gain loot and discover secrets. Interact with interesting characters using Ardenfall's powerful dialogue system. Make choices depending on your stats, traits, and so much more. Test your skills against interesting and unique monsters. You might die. A lot. Feeling bloodthirsty? Every character in Ardenfall can be killed, even the ones that are a part of quests. Quick cast spells, potions, and other weapons to mix up combat. Beware, other characters are just as dynamic. Take advantage of the reputation system and leave your mark on the world. Various factions and individuals will react to the choices your character makes. Their mature content description is: the developers describe the content like this. The game may contain content not appropriate for all ages, may not be appropriate for viewing at work, general mature content, which is much better than some of the ones we've seen in the past. The first thing you get is a new feature that they'd added, which is the retro mode. Switching between the two really just is the difference between it seeming very pixelized and much clearer. I imagine some people will enjoy the look of the retro mode. Myself, not so much. So I went ahead and went with the normal mode. Continuing to look at the options, all the normal stuff's there. You can turn up the volume, turn down the volume, various types of camera things that you can change. I didn't see motion blur. I did see they have that camera shake reduction strength, which I got rid of because I don't really need my camera to shake. That's actually kind of irritating. And, all the controls. Now, this does not appear to have any support for controller. So that is something to keep in mind if it's something that you look like you might be interested in playing. Jumping into the new game, you do get a very nice little entry piece where they tell you about where you are ending up in the game.
Settlement, Garakai. This town is of 3 tribes, all of which have been infighting for years. The Sako tribe is known for their fishing and cooking, the Akiro for their hunters, and the Tsuki for their craftsmanship. When exploring, you abruptly fell into what looked like an abandoned mine, barely mustering the strength to make camp before falling into a deep sleep.
And then you get to the character creation. Now, there are 3 different races, 2 different types of elf and the dwarf, each with their own specific abilities that seems to center around a specific type of class. Obviously, the sand elf appears to be more magic. The Keru elf appears to be more thievy, and then the dwarf is more, warrior. And it does have the various skills bonuses attributed to each race, boosting and, well, really just boosting. Didn't see any lowering stats. So you choose which race you think will boost best towards what you're planning to do. You are then able to choose your gender, male or female, your age, if you're an adult or if you're old. That's really your only two options on that. And as far as that goes, that is it. For the appearance, you get to randomly generate your name. Appearance-wise, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of choices. There was a few hair options, but with the current graphical appearance, there's not a whole lot of difference. Something that really irritated me while I was going through and trying to look at all the options is every time you change an option, it puts the character back up facing you. So you have to every time go back through, re-rotate to find the differences, because there are a couple where if you don't go through and rotate it, you're not going to see what the differences are. But there are, for a demo that is obviously not a complete game, a few different cute little options that they put in for the female form. Nothing spectacular, but at least they're doing something. There are some really cute horn options, which if you're into that, you get to go through all those. And, I liked it. I thought they were pretty creative with what they did with them. So that was pretty nice to see. You cannot have a beard or apparently mess with the eyebrows on the female character model. I have to say the skin tones were pretty, you could be everything from light brown to dark brown, which was interesting. The hair colors were equally disappointing. You could basically go from kind of a brownish black through green and blue and into a black. It really not a lot. Horns were colors of brown, and eyes, just through reds and browns, really not a lot of detail involved there. Then you get to choose which faction you are part of, as well as some interesting traits, which, they all give you various bonuses to what you're doing. Same with the background traits. Overall, for a basic demo, they do have some interesting concepts going. And then, of course, you get to decide your own attributes and your own starting items. It's not the most robust system, but it's not the worst thing I've seen either. Getting into the actual game, you can see the graphics aren't the best. If you look there on the skeleton, you can literally see the lines of the pixels. And it is a very basic at this point game. I'm hoping that since they said this is an early demo, that they are going to be working on polishing some of those edges. But one of the cute things I definitely thought was kind of nice was this pocket dictionary, where they go through and actually use an in-world item to help define some of the words that you're going to run across in the game, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, of course, once you start moving around, I found the movement in the game to be kind of, it didn't sit right with me. It felt a little dizzying, and honestly, it could be partly because I'm already sick today. But it just, it felt a little oddly smooth, and I certainly did not expect for my character to start out at level 20, which surprised me just a little bit. But I guess if you're going to start a demo, it's better to start people off with just a little more power under their belts as opposed to at absolute zero. It works out all right in the end. There is an awful lot of loot to pick up, I will definitely say that, and they preload you with quite a few items that you can actually play around with. The throwing potions are actually pretty cool. I enjoyed using those quite a bit. I didn't play with any of the magic. I did, of course, play with the ranged combat because I like ranged, which I was not. There's a lack of nuance within the ranged battle. Basically, if you can point your little cursor at something and let it go, you will hit it. There's no account for distance, no account for drop. It's just, point and hit. So I hope that is something they're looking to improve in the future, is to beef up the battle system a little so that there's just a little more something to it, especially in terms of ranged. I like one I like games that give me a challenge for these sorts of things. The creatures you run into were pretty interesting. You saw the first little ones. Then you had these mushrooms here who spit things at you. And you can either dodge them or you can actually just shoot them out of the air. I'm not sure what their visual detection is, though, because obviously I was able to stand here away from them and just shoot from where I was and kill them. I was very impressed with the fact that I was able to go back and pick up my arrows as opposed to just losing them all. That was a nice touch that I enjoyed. You can swim in the game. I wasn't sure about the air thing, how long I could stay underwater. But I didn't, again, play around with it too much. I just played the game for about an hour and a half. And honestly, it didn't capture me right off. A lot of, like I said, the jank kind of bothered me. And as much as I hate to admit it, I like a pretty game. And this isn't very pretty. It has promise. Like, I can see where if they work a little more on it and polish it up a little more, you could go either kind of the goofy look of, say, a Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild kind of thing. You don't have to be that polished, but getting it closer to that level would certainly help the game a little bit. This one was an interesting creature I found on the floor. You step on him and he bites you. He's very irritating, but also very easy to kill, and he doesn't do too much damage. But of course, your goal is to get out of this dungeon, and it wasn't the hardest thing to do. And once you're out of the dungeon, you have the ability to go ahead and explore the world outside. You are set up in the wetlands, and you have, you just get to go out and wander. You are put right by the town that was your destination. And if you are like me, you try to wander everywhere but you're close enough that you basically walk right into it. It took me a bit of wandering before I finally ran into any characters to talk to. I mean, not an extremely long period of time, probably about 5 minutes once I got into town. Oh, I also do appreciate the fact that they do the whole, if you take other people's things, you could very well be considered stealing. That's kind of cool. I mean, especially when you have a faction-based game, which that does come up later. But I will say their dialogue trees probably need a little bit of work. There are often times I found myself talking to a character and they actually reference stuff that I hadn't done yet, making me just a little bit confused, especially within the same conversation. Now, there are 3 different sects here within this town that you get to talk to and do various things for, that it does track what you do with who. And again, I only played about an hour and a half. I feel there is probably more depth there, but some of the jank just kind of pulled me out of it. It made it difficult for me to really focus and get into it. Especially since I've got to say the dialogue is not the best. There's promise there. There really is. I don't want to be cruel or just outright dismissive, because I do think that with a little work that this could have a possibility of being good. And I'm sure there are actually people who will enjoy it as is. I'm just kind of fussy. Now, I did like the trading system in which you pick what you are going to sell, pick which you are going to buy, and it balances out at the top, and then you do the trade. I thought that was an interesting method. Not something you see a lot. It kind of does that in Baldur's Gate if you choose to barter, but still not quite the same. It's kind of cool. And you do have, a little bit like D&D, you do have some interesting moments where you're having a discussion and then you get to pick what you say, and what you say obviously has some kind of modifier check to go along with it. For example, here you can do criminal, and when you select it, it pops up past check for the criminal, and you get experience points. So that's kind of cool. There's a few different ones of those that I got to use. Diplomacy a couple times. Thought this little bit was good. You run into this guy who's trying to sell you some livestock, and you talk to him. You'll notice that creature has a red ribbon on his horn, but if you don't purchase it outright and then you wander around and do some more talking, you are met with this other Karu, who is in fact looking for the same animal, in which case you can tell him that you have spotted his animal, and he goes and tells the guards, and They take the animal and you gain 50 rep and 1,000 XP. It's actually an interesting little play out there. So they do have a good ability to thread things through. There are a number of different little things that pop up, even just from talking to people in the town. And obviously, they have planned for different resolutions for different conflicts. As an example, you'll run into this fellow who tells you about a Samper camp out on the old shores. He'll tell you how to get there, and then he'll tell you that he would like you to resolve it peacefully. Now, you have the option, of course, to basically handle these people however you want, and the game tells you as much. See here, you've discovered the old shore, which is where you were going to find the camp. Take care of the sappers however you see fit. Now, I have a tendency to roll up diplomacy-heavy characters. I just spoke around until I found who was apparently the leader. And at that point, I explained, I'm here to get rid of you. And I've been told to do so peacefully using a diplomacy check. And then when I passed the diplomacy check, 45 XP, and they vacated. Now, I could have obviously done other things. I didn't try to kill anybody, but that's not one of my first thoughts in most cases, is not to try to kill anybody, or everybody, I guess I should say. And through the course of the game, I ran into a fellow with a 6th family member, and I went to check on them to see if I could gather any more information, since I also told them I'd cure her. And of course, I have the option to actually kill her in the event I had chosen to. Smother her with a pillow, which is kind of an amusing choice, I think, but if, me being me, goody two-shoes, I decided not to do that. Instead, I went to the temple to try to figure out if I could find a cure. Now, and this is where I ran into possibly something that really threw me for a loop. When I got here to the temple, I'm speaking to the fellow and, getting directions and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I complete a quest I didn't know I had. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Garkai. And that kind of threw me off. It's like I don't remember starting that. I don't know how I got that. Maybe there is something, maybe it's just meant to be in there as an amusing Easter egg. I'm not sure, but it was just a little strange. And then, of course, poking around the temple, I find a book that has the cure for the young lady's ailment in it, which I do like the way they use books in this game. They very much put a lot of thought into it. There's just, like I said, some things that they need to iron out. They have an idea going. It's just not quite there in terms of something that I would genuinely enjoy playing. Now, after I've figured out what I need, you have a quest that takes you down into a dungeon where you then start to look around for the thing that will fulfill your other quest while doing the first quest that you got. Hey, typical RPG fare. Now, the sneak detection in this game is very odd. It's still a little janky on that as well. See, that creature saw me long before, and I'm not sure why. But again, just able to point at it and fire. I didn't even really have to attempt to aim, and the pathing wasn't really very good. Honestly, he should have been running up those stairs to smack me, but he never did. He just stood there and died like a good boy. Now, here's where I got the most use out of those throwing potions. I was very nervous about this guy since he seemed quite large, but you had a stun throwing potion, and it actually worked very well. Now, at this point, I was still a little nervous about getting too close to him, so I ended up wasting a lot of arrows instead of, just doing the smart thing and taking out my weapon, my melee weapon, and beating the shit out of him. But, we all learn, and I did win in the end. That is what matters. Not very heroically. I obviously got poisoned and continued to get my ass kicked for just a little bit before I decided to man up, one might say, and go after him properly. Let's see if maybe running in here and doing this. And then that was the end of him. Now, at the very end, before I finally decided that I was done playing the game, I did, of course, manage to push it that last little bit. Overall, the combat is pretty basic, point, click, 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 click. But if you're not paying attention, you still get yourself killed, which I, of course, like I just said, managed to do. Killed. And that is death right there. You will be forgotten. I like that. Now, like I said, it's not the best game out there. I do think it has a lot of promise. There's a good deal of charm to be seen in it, but it needs a good polishing. I know it's an early access demo, which means you don't even have to pay to play it, and it seems like they gave a good bit of game for you to play. I mean, like I said, I played an hour and a half, and I didn't hate it, but I also didn't have as much fun as I would have hoped. But all that said, I can't recommend it, but I am going to say if you are interested in playing a game that is just beginning to find its way, then this is probably a good place for you to mess around for a little bit, maybe give the dev some feedback so that he can continue polishing it up some more. Because there is something there, I just think they need to continue working on it. And they're in a good spot for it. They don't have a release date. They're not making any promises yet. They even state in their description that this is an early access demo and that they are working on it. And as promised, here's a puppy video. Now I'm going to be quiet for a moment. So that you can hear the puppies growling. They're tiny little growls. They're so adorable while they try to play with each other. Amusingly, the music from the TV actually really fits this. And they're so close to just really walking. And there she goes, just biting her sister's face. Right down on her nose, chomp.
It's like amateur.
But yeah, that is the pup date for today. They are growing so fast, I'm going to have to start actually feeding them some soft puppy food because now they've been stealing their mother's puppy food. So it's time for them to apparently get on their own. Normally that's not something I start doing until about 4 weeks, but some of these are a little precocious, and if they're going to be that hungry and I can take that burden off their mother by feeding them a little bit, I am more than glad to do so, as long as I can tell they're not going to get themselves choked. I've got stories. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review of Ardenfall, the demo. The link for the demo will be down in the description, and let me know what you thought. I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.